right, I want to go ahead and explain to you guys how to do this assignment for Chapter 8, Homework Part 1. And this is going to be on pages 16 through 19 in your homework that you're going to be doing. And so the reason that I think it takes some explanation is because your axes change on the top versus the bottom. So let's take a look at this problem. Because this is actually really an interesting way to compare sets of data. So, this data came from a study of ice cream consumption that spanned the springs and summers of 3 different years. So, the ice cream consumption, which is in pints per capita, do kind of keep that in mind because I think on the next page there's something that asks about gallons or something else, and there's some, I can't remember, I think there's 4 pints in a gallon, maybe 2. I don't know. I'll have to I'll have to remember that one. But anyway, so you got your family, the pints per year. Got your family of the family income of the consumers in $1,000 per year. So we do want to keep in mind when we make predictions the units. And then the temperature, which is in Fahrenheit. And the one we did the other day was in Celsius. All right. So when we're taking a look at this data, so this is the consumption in pints. And then you have your income in 1,000s of dollars. Okay. And then you have your temperature. So in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so what's interesting about this problem is ultimately we are interested in knowing, and I think it's over here on the top page, which explanatory variable do you think is more appropriate in making predictions about consumption? Okay, so see, that's ultimately what we're interested in. We want to see, in both of these cases, this is your response. Consumption is the response. So that's going to be your Y variable. But this page is going to then do the first problem with income as the explanatory variable, and we're going to see what this relationship here looks like with income. And so you'll end up having these, the residuals of the consumption based on income as your explanatory. And then you'll do all the graphing, which we talked about, and you're using your thinking map process flow map on that. And of course, we're interested in this correlation of those items, okay? How well income affects and is correlated to the consumption. Okay, and then this next part, create a graph with temperature as the explanatory variable. So we're going to see how much does this indicate that our temperature is affecting the income. So when you put your data in, your y-axis still is wrong here. Your y-axis is still consumption. Because in this case, we're seeing how and here's consumption up here. In the bottom case, we're seeing how temperature affects consumption. So then we'll have when we make a residual plot, we'll see how far off is that data, the residuals of consumption, how far off are those actual data from the prediction line, and the one that was predicted based on temperature. And you'll get that correlation coefficient represented by the R. Okay, and remember your LSRL. You're doing that in context. So you're predicting your consumption. And then you've got your slope times income in this case, plus the y-intercept, and so on. And down here, predicted consumption again. All right. and then you've got the slope, but the temperature is your explanatory and your y-intercept. All right, so then you've got those two relationships set on this page. And so after you've defined those relationships, you then come on over here and you make some decision about which one of those explanatory variables. Do you think income or do you think temperature gives a stronger connection or response or correlation, to that consumption, and then explain why. So, we might be looking at the residuals. So when you reference thing, you're probably going to be referencing the residuals, and you're going to be referencing the correlation coefficient, which is your R. All right. Then you ask all these different questions, including, as you saw in the other video, you are given things such as residuals and different things, and you're solving for the actuals and all of that. Okay, so that is how you're doing that 16 and 17. And then you play, this next one is about playoff games. This throws people. This right here is like not needed. The year, that's not what we're basing this off. We're seeing if the season points is an indicator or correlated to those playoff points. Okay, so I'm just trying to catch some of the common questions students have. And then here on page 19, look at this is a 2017 AP question. Number 1 is talking about, I had mentioned this before. So here it's asking you to interpret the correlation and interpret the slope. And then look here. Here is this one where it gives you a residual and what is the actual. So exactly the kind of information that I've been talking to you about or you've been working on 2 years ago's AP exam. All right, so I hope that explains to you how to help you get started and have success on your problems pages 16 through 19.